Every time Nanno transfers to a new school, the bullies there are headed for a bitter end. Stories about her spread everywhere, but when people keep wishing to meet her and she never appears, they begin to think the same thing this boy did. That believing Nanno is real is stupid, but everything has a reason. He was one of the weakest students in school, thin, timid, and always afraid. He walked around like he was scared of bumping into anyone. And honestly, that fear made sense. Because in his class, there was one name that made everyone lower their heads. John, the leader of a gang of students who made a habit of tormenting others. And Sergei was their favorite target. He was forced to run errands, insulted, humiliated, and beaten. One day, they even filmed him just to mock him and spread the video around. His life had become nothing but an endless chain of shame. And through all of it, there was only one thing he could still hold on to. A strange rumor about a mysterious girl. People said there was a girl named Nanno, a girl from the void, who appeared when someone reached their most desperate moment. And when she appeared, the people who had done evil would pay for it. The story spread across student forums like an eerie legend. Some said they had seen her. Others said she was just made up. But Sergei believed. He searched social media every day, reading every post and every creepy story about the mysterious girl. But in the end, everything he found led to one conclusion. Nanno cannot be summoned. She only appears when she chooses to. That left him feeling both hopeful and hopeless. Sometimes he even mistook random girls with shoulder-length hair for Nanno, only to be left embarrassed and disappointed. Still, he kept searching, until one day his phone suddenly buzzed. A message arrived from an account named The Girl from the Void. His heart pounded as he opened it, but what he saw wasn't a miracle, it was a meme. His face had been edited onto a humiliating image with mocking captions. Even his final hope had turned into a joke. But that humiliation lit something inside him. For the first time in his life, Sergei decided to fight back. As usual, John stole his test answers, but this time Sergei had deliberately written every answer wrong. The result? A perfect 0 for John. John snapped. He dragged Sergei into the bathroom, beat him brutally, and shoved his head into a toilet while his gang laughed. One of those boys had once been bullied by John too. He whispered to Sergei that fighting back would only get him destroyed. But the next day, Sergei tried again. He handed John a report and claimed he had written it to make up for everything. John didn't check it. He just submitted it straight to the teacher. But as she read it, her face turned pale. The entire report was filled with vulgar insults. She immediately reported John to his family. And that was when the truth came out. John came from a prestigious family. His father was a politician who cared more about reputation than anything else. His older sister was the pride of the family. Brilliant, accomplished, admired. But John was the stain they tried to hide. That night after dinner, his father coldly called him down to the basement and asked, "Which do you want to keep, your left hand or your right?" John trembled and held out his left hand, but his father raised a hammer and smashed his right hand instead. Strangely, that same night, Sergei dreamed of the exact same scene. The next morning, John's seat was empty, and for the first time Sergei felt a flicker of hope. Maybe his life was finally about to change. But that hope died the moment John walked into class with his hand wrapped in bandages and placed it on Sergei's shoulder like a warning. It wasn't over. After school, John and his gang chased Sergei into the parking lot. He thought he had escaped, but a barking dog gave him away. They caught him. One of the boys handed John a steel marble. John gave Sergei a choice, either let the gang beat him or take the marble. Sergei's hand trembled as he held it. Then suddenly, he threw it straight at John. But he was immediately overpowered. John smashed the marble into Sergei's hand the same way his father had smashed his own. The pain was unbearable, and it still didn't stop there. They dragged him into a warehouse, tied him up, humiliated him, and filmed everything while laughing. Then John stepped forward and mocked him. "So where's your Nanno now? If you can't find her, this is what's going to happen to you every day. And if you can't take it, then just die." Then he slipped a noose around Sergei's neck. At that moment, crushed by pain and despair, Sergei felt his life had finally reached its end. He wrote one final message for his parents, then he made one last post online, admitting how stupid he had been to believe Nanno existed. And after that, he decided to end everything. But right at that moment, leaves began to drift down from above. And then, she appeared. A beautiful girl with deep black eyes, shoulder-length hair, and a smile that was both captivating and unsettling. She stepped closer and said casually, "I'm Nanno. Looks like I got here a little early." He couldn't speak, but when she asked if he wanted help, he nodded frantically. She cut the rope and he collapsed to the ground, coughing. Then he clung to her like she was a miracle. But there was something strange about her smile, because it turned out she was the one who had sent that meme. Just a little test. From that moment on, Sergei never again thought it was foolish to believe in Nanno. The two of them joined forces, and according to Nanno, John's greatest fear wasn't pain. It was the day no one feared him anymore. The next morning, John walked into class and found that his chair had been replaced with a filthy old toilet. He looked around, waiting for someone to panic, but nobody cared. Then, at that exact moment, a new student entered the room. The teacher introduced her. "This is our transfer student, Nanno." She took the seat directly in front of John and turned back to smile sweetly at him. That only made him hate her more. Later, during a test, Nanno slipped a folded note into John's hand, just as the teacher walked by. He was caught instantly, but inside the note was not a cheat sheet. It was a humiliating sketch making fun of him. John was furious. He sent his followers to investigate Nanno, but they found nothing. So he decided to deal with her himself. Soon after, the gang chased Sergei to the old warehouse, but when they opened the door, they froze. A stuffed clown was hanging from the ceiling by a noose. Then something even stranger happened. John's injured hand began to ache horribly. Later, when he woke up, he found that his hand had somehow been stitched to the clown's soft toy hammer. No matter how hard he pulled, he couldn't get it off. Beside him was a note, "Meet me at the warehouse." Enraged, he went there with two of his followers. But on the way, everyone laughed at the giant stuffed hammer attached to his hand. The boy everyone used to fear had suddenly become a joke. When he arrived, Nanno stepped out wearing that same eerie smile. John lunged at her, but with his hand attached to a soft toy hammer, every swing was pathetic. The more he tried, the louder Nanno laughed. She vanished, reappeared, smiled from different corners of the room. Little by little, John fell apart. Nanno told the others to keep filming. After all, they had once been his victims too. Then Sergei arrived. This felt like the moment for revenge, but instead of striking back, Sergei told everyone to stop filming. Then he reached out his hand and helped John up. And John, completely shattered, burst into tears. Later, on the rooftop, Sergei told Nanno that he didn't want to become the kind of person he hated. But because of her, he had learned one thing. He could not keep surrendering. He had to fight back, because everything needs an ending. And no matter what happened, he still wanted to hold on to hope. Nanno asked if there was anything else he wanted. He stepped closer, making her think he was about to kiss her. But instead, he smiled and asked for a picture together. One unforgettable photo. Because maybe after that day, he would never see her again. Nanno left with her familiar smile, beautiful, mysterious, and impossible to understand. And somewhere, at another school, perhaps another story was just beginning.